Oh, hold on. Okay, yeah, got it. Okay, so it went recording in progress.
Yeah, I can do lots
My
of voices.
best, that's my best female computer voice. Recording in progress. There you go. I've just got rid of me because there's nothing worse than seeing myself on there, on the screen. That is, I've just turned myself off. there's an opening for your mind of psychology. Right, the reason you want to turn that off is because you're an ugly bastard.
Well, yeah, Terry Alderton, comedian.
Hello.
Well, the thing that attracted me to your comedy is the psychology aspect of it because it's hilarious.
Well, that's nice to know. I remember doing a few gigs for the troops years ago in Afghanistan and what have you. And after two particular shows in two completely different areas, both the camp psychologist, if you like, went, "I need to have a word with you in my office." And I sat with an hour with them. They were like, "Wow, where's this come from?" So I can see why you guys like it.
Yeah, I think it's the voice thing. I think because everyone's got like an inner voice, but you're sort of talking it out.
Well, yeah, well, basically what it is. There are actually two voices talking, and there's the higher one, and there's the lower one. And there was a thing where everyone thought it was the bad angel and the good angel, and I was like, no, it's nothing to do with that. And I wasn't quite sure what it was myself because they're kind of both protagonists, if you like. And then I had therapy, and the therapist said to me, "Do you know what the drama triangle is?" Which I know you do, but for the people watching, basically when you kind of get a bit down and depressed, you have a protagonist, a child, and an adult. So you're attacking the child, and then you're the adult trying to save it. And so in a kind of weird way, at the depths of my darkness doing comedy, I was back there doing these voices, and they were causing trouble, and then they were having me, the adult, go out and sort it out at the front. That's the kind of darkest aspect of it all. The truth of it is, I just wanted a different way to tell jokes. That's what I do.
Where's all that stuff come from? Like, it seems like it's random, but I don't know whether it's like scripted in. Like, give me back my kids and all that.
Oh, well, that all came from when I was doing the Superman T-shirt. That all came from when I was at school. I'm from an era where the teachers would call me. They would say like I was special needs. That's what they would call me, and I would be in what was it called? That's some horrible class they would put you in. They would put you in remedial class or something like that. Something that you'd never call it now. And so when they were doing the Fathers for Justice thing, I thought that's quite a funny way to have a go back of the world and go, that's right, I'm special needs man, with the Superman T-shirt. And then what it transformed in without me, telling anyone, of course, at that time, and everybody knew that dads who were not seeing their kids were dressing up as superheroes and climbing up different things like Westminster and whatever. I decided then to carry on special need man, so give me back my kids. And then if you got that, then I went on further by going, Boxing Day's not like Christmas Day, is it? They just keep pulling the shirt. I see you move Frank in. It just get more and more ridiculous.
That's funny.
It's a shame. It was a shame. Well, you know what? It's a shame for the people. It was a shame for the Fathers of Justice guys. Bless them. Let's not forget that. But it was also a shame in a way from my comedy that it went away because it was I used to love doing that bit. But of course, no one knows what that is now. So there you go.
I don't know whether people got it or it's just the randomness of it that made people laugh.
It doesn't matter. That's the whole thing. I always think to myself when I come up with any comedy or do it, and I think to myself that might be a bit too random. But then I have to think, well, is it just funny? Is it just funny in its own right? These random things. And I think you have to remember that sometimes not everyone's gonna grasp what the hell you're on about anyway. So even though there's kind of a narrative, maybe a small narrative to my mind, or maybe some cohesion to it. In my world, to you, like you're just going, oh bless him. I'm probably that far away from sitting outside with a little plastic cup and people dropping 20p in it, and me going, no, this is my act. I'm not homeless.
Phenomenal act. It's unbelievable act. Fascinated.
At least you. Well, I like it. One of my biggest fans is a psychologist. Where do you go with that?
And that counting, that maths thing you do, like adding up the numbers.
Oh, the 2, 4, 6, 18, 20. Yeah, but you know what? Do you want to know the truth behind that, right? 2, 4, 6. What it is for people who don't know, I go from 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 20. It goes right up. It goes up to something like 2 point something million. It goes up to.
But millions.
But let me just tell you something, right? If you watch it next time, I'm going to let you into a little secret here, right? Is I go 2, 4, 8, 16, and then I go show them the way, and then someone pushes play on a CD.
It's unbelievable I do that.
because what happened was I was trying to learn it, and I thought, no one, because my back is to the audience, I thought no one knows if I'm doing it or not. So I was just recording it.
That's phenomenal memory.
But it is a good piece. I did get up quite high, but I just thought to myself, there was absolutely no point in me doing this because you don't see me do it. Unless I was to sit here and do it to you now, it would be quite impressive. But you know what? It's funny. I forgot all about that. I did that back in Australia. I think that's on video, didn't it? When I was doing the thing about get a dog up you and all that, because they say get a dog up you over there. Yeah, mate, get a dog up you. Yeah. Or they say get a black dog up you. Get a black dog up you. But then I dropped the black thing because I didn't want them to think it was an Aboriginal thing. You know what I mean? It's dodgy. I didn't want to come across in any way because I wasn't quite sure if it was. And I know it's not a racist thing, but I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
Let's just do get a dog up you. I mean, get a dog up you is probably bad enough, isn't it?
I saw one act. I think I'm not sure if it's in Australia where you kind of like make horn noises at people, like you're pulling the horn.
Oh, that was another Australian one. That's really old. That is. Do you know that's about 20 years old that now? And that's when I just go out and go. I just walk out the front row and go all that, and then I think, don't I say to the guy talk at the spots, and everyone goes, oh, and then I go, nice haircut. Yeah, I don't do any jokes in that whole thing. I think I do a little drunk thing at the end, and that's it. Yeah,
but it looked like it was just unscripted stuff, and you just
it wasn't completely unscripted. And I'd say something before I started that performance. My friend Matthew Hardy, who's an Australian comedian, I was panicking. I was going, I've completely gone blank. Sometimes that happens. And he was going to me, where can you go blank, mate? He said, I've seen you get standing ovations at jonglers on piss nights when everyone else has died and you go out there and you storm it and everyone goes mad and they stand even though they're pissed. And he goes, how can you not do it? And I went, oh, all right. So I just thought to myself, you've got to forget that you can't remember anything. Just say something. That was always been my mum's rule when I started comedy. I said about, I don't dry up an hour, ever dry up. Of course I don't, I'm too old. But what my mum always said to me is just say something. You know what I mean? Even if you get to a blank, just say something. Even if it's...
My dad was a man of few words, but he always used to say to me, son...
That reminds me. You got me. It's a good one. But what's his name? It'll come to me. Jesus, I hate getting to this age. I forget everything. Oh, bloody hell. What's his Gary? Brilliant one-liner. I know him really well. Gary Delaney. Gary Delaney. God. He does it. I remember the first time he did this gag, and I howled at it, right? And the rest of the audience was sitting there, not thinking what they just didn't get the gag, and I thought it was brilliant. And it was basically he did a joke, got a laugh, and then he went, "You wank off 3 bus drivers." Everyone just sat there and went, "What?" And I just went, "Brilliant." They all come up once, don't they? Oh, fucking great gag. yeah, brilliant. And he's a funny one, Gary Delaney, because you always know he's in your audience because he's got a really special laugh that he has. So you could be doing your Edinburgh show or something, and all of a sudden you think, oh, Delaney's in here, I can hear him.
Yeah. Stuart Francis, Milton Jones, Gary Delaney, yourself, they're the comedians I watch.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, what about Vine? Do you like Vine?
Vine's one-liners, yeah, good one-liners.
Yeah. He's got some silly songs as well, Tim.
Yeah, he's got good one-liners. Like
what? Go on, sorry.
BNAG, and he says bang out of order on the card.
Bang out of order. My dad is a big fan of Milton Jones as well. Milton, so my other grandfather.
From a psychological perspective, do
Yes.
comedians do comedy to deal with depression and anxiety and stuff?
Can't answer that question. Can't answer that question because I don't know how their minds were. I wouldn't think Vine's ever been depressed in his life, for example. He's a very good friend of mine, so or Milton Jones. But they've got higher powers, haven't they? They're very religious and Christian. So I don't know how it works for them, for example. That's a whole nother. I think, I've come to the conclusion a lot of depression is a build up of lots of little things and then maybe sort of chemical imbalances as well that kick it along, So not every comic's depressed. There are depressed comedians, but not all are depressed, if that makes any sense. But for me, I think it just is, I'm in that kind of cliche where I've kind of been thrown into I wasn't at the beginning though. You see, I was very happy and fun. I've always had a bit of a weird mind. I know I have, which I've come to understand a lot more now. But I think for me, it was a lot of little things all coming together and then just kicking me in the balls. And then they bombed the Twin Towers, and that sent me right off. That did. I was masticing the windows in my old house and everything. I mean, I went completely Lulu. Stayed in my dressing gown for 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, I went right, and there was a point there where Dee, my wife, we'd only just got married as well. She's still with me, but she's a little bit as well. She's got bad eyes. She said to me, "What you need to do," because I'd had this sort of big rise to television. I was doing loads of TV and not doing any stand-up anymore. I thought that's it. The stand-up days are gone now, and then maybe tour and all that kind of thing, but I kind of stopped and the TV had stopped. And then I was like, oh, boo-hoo. Felt sorry for myself. And she was like, you need to go back and do stand-up, right? And I said, if I go back, everyone will be in dressing rooms and they'll be going, oh, look who's back. And she said, do you think everyone's in those dressing rooms talking about you? And I went, no, good point. But actually, there would have been some comics going, oh, look who's back. So, but it was a good word of advice. And that's where what are we doing? I don't know. That started. That's where that came from. Right. And it was an amalgamation of things really, because I was down and then I read a review from something I see. So I hadn't gigged for a while, and then I did a gig somewhere. I don't even know where it was, but it was about 2004. I know the date, and I remember reading this review. And of course, comedy needs to be current with who you are. I believe anyway, who you are as a person. So that's why my comedy changes a lot. Because I'm ever growing and I don't want to just be the guy who goes, oh, he does observational stuff or he does one-liners. That's not really where I'm at. So I remember reading this review on a website, a quite well-known comedy website, only read by comedians really. And the guy who wrote it was scathing. It was like personal. It wasn't just about my comedy. It was like, we're proud to hate this guy kind of thing. And it broke my heart. I remember it just absolutely floored me. And and that was that in that sort of, I think it was about end of 2005, I went to Dubai and did some gigs out there, and I hadn't gigged for a while, so I was still doing that old shit I was doing in '99, if that makes sense. And I went out in front of a Dubai audience, and I just made some reference to call to prayer. It was a silly flippant joke, and all it was, I said, if God's up there, I'm not sure he wants to hear people singing 5 times a day. It must be bad enough that as the world spins, he's got the Christians in Cornwall ringing their bells shortly. He must be up there going, can someone just stop these people? That's all it was. Why, man, for a country that has mass slavery, I did the wrong thing. So I apologise and all this, blah, blah, blah. It was like, I didn't mean it in any way. I wasn't being rude. I was just making jokes. That's what I did. I'm a comedian. I was just making jokes, right? And I apologised, and I didn't want to upset anyone, as I wouldn't now. It's just a comedian making a joke, right? So the next night, I was allowed to play again, and I went out, and obviously I was then full of like darkness in my own world, and then I was there just going, as a comedian of free speech, I was like, what is the point of this crap? So when I used to turn around and do a gag, I used to do a gag that I went in. I was in a bar in New York. Is this true? I was in a bar in New York, and I went up to the guy and I said, "Can I have a medium white wine?" And in real life, the guy turned around and he said, we only do the one sides, right? He honestly did say that to me, right? So the joke was, when I would do that in England or anywhere else in the world, tell that gag, then I turn back and I do these two voices, right? And one would say, go back, you must go back and show him the bulldog spirit, show him the way. And then I'd go back over and go, you know, that's all the gag was. But after everything I've just told you, that particular night, I didn't stop there. I continued to go on about what I was thinking inside and how annoyed I was, and then turn around like nothing had happened. And then again, I would then turn around a little bit later on and start going, oh, that didn't work, did it? No, that didn't work. Because at that time, hit it really high like this. Right. It was like, yes. Oh, no, you must get him. It was all like that. I don't know why. It's more like me now. That's why I think some people get confused that it's only one voice. I might have to look into that, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, that was that. And when I came off, a comedian, Ben Norris, great comedian, he went to me, what was all that turning around you were doing? And I said, oh, yeah, you know, being the professional that I am, I said, I shouldn't have really done that. And he went, no. You've always got to do that. He said, but don't be so bitter with it. And then cut a very long story short, I went to Edinburgh Festival, 2006. I made this crazy film. I had this box on stage that said Fragile on it, which I then got out of and got in and all that kind of thing, you know. It's kind of metaphorical. So I was understanding what I was trying to get to and what I was trying to get at. And then I remember finishing that show, and at the time, the agent I had, he was with Gareth Hale, or no, Norman Hale or Norman Pace, one of those two. And I said something. I said, Bob, you didn't like that, did you? He went, I'll be honest with you. He said, I'll be honest with you. We're trying to relaunch you here in Edinburgh. And he said, we need to get you a director next year, because, you know, if you think showing a stupid film and then turning and talking to a wall for a fucking hour as a show, you know. And I thought, that's it. This is it then. This is it. If he doesn't get this, then this is brilliant. There was method in it. This guy, great agent, but really mainstream agent, you know, Brian Connolly, that kind of thing. And I thought, actually, if he ain't getting it, you know, this is what I've been looking for and wanted to do. Wanted to be like Milligan, wanted to be like Sellers, wanted to do all those things that were creative and random, you know. And I'd been led down this Mr. Saturday Night thing, which of course I said at the beginning I'd been successful at, and then it all got cut off, you know, like that. London's Burning was the last thing I think I did like that, and it was all gone. And that was brilliant. It was liberating. It was liberating. And then I think back to things, you know, the very first Jungle Get Me Out of Here, you know, I was asked to do that and I said no to it because I was in London's Burning, even though I'd had this rise, you know, there was something in me just new, you know, and then since I've been asked again since and stuff, but it's like those things are knowing, you know, I did EastEnders and I think maybe that might have killed me a bit. My friend in Ireland always goes on to me, when I went into it, he was livid. He said, you know, your comedy thing's just about to bubble over again. You know, you've got that second rise. And then what you've done is you've taken yourself into a completely wrong world of entertainment in a way. So now I'm at an age now where I'm just doing what I want to do for myself now. But, you know, but that's the story. And there you go. So.
And what's the Bear With Me? What's the podcast?
Oh, yeah. So now I'm doing Bear With Me, which is it's a podcast. So I decided this year, I woke up and I thought, right, I looked at everything, you know, I wanted to create some stuff in my own world and I wanted to put it out. I'm not going to get on YouTube, too old for that, right? And I don't want to be amongst that wash, right? Also, then TikTok, I mean, that's another thing. I don't want to be amongst that wash. Unless you're doing something like you're doing, which is brilliant, and people can ask you questions and then, you know, you answer them. That's a great, it's brilliant for you. As a comedian, it could look very desperate. So for me, that's not a way I want to go, not at my age. So then I thought, well, podcasts is a good place for me to be because I like doing voices and I like doing characters. And I thought, well, let's do this. I've done a few Radio 4 shows and a few of the characters I always thought were wasted. So one of them was this bear that is with this fella, but this guy, Ed, he believes that the bear is a man dressed up, but it's not, it's a bear. But then again, I'm not too sure yet myself. And they live together and they live with Ed's mum. And she lives in the cupboard. She's their Alexa. So they go, hey, Irene. And she's like, whoop, whoop. Hello, Irene speaking. Right? So, and it's all about the adventures of them living at this place called Turkey Cottages. And there is a place, they live in Turkey Lane, and it really does exist. near another place called Fingering Hoe, believe it or not, which is down near Colchester in Essex. So that's the crazy world. It's a bonkers world, and it's a world that I know that no one's telling me, you know, no one's reading my scripts when I write them and go, oh, no, we can't really have that on the channel. I can do what I want, right? And that's what's lovely. I do all the voices, I do all the music, I write it, I produce it, I make all the sounds. So, you know, I'm up and down recording myself on ladders and stuff, you know, and banging hammers and drills and all that. So I make all the sounds myself. It's just great fun. It's very, very hard work, though. But you'd love it coming from your world, watching me do it, because, of course, there's maybe 14 characters in one show, and they're all me. So it's basically me having conversations with me in different personalities. So dare I say it myself, I've lived a life like that. You know, I've constantly spoke to myself. I've always had an imaginary friend, blah, 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 right? So I'm good at, but even I dare say this to myself, and I never big myself up, is why even when I listen to it back, whether you like it funny or not funny, you cannot tell that they are so singular. These things exist. They're real people. But then I forget and think, shit, this is all me. It's a bit scary when you listen to all these different people talking with different personalities and different tones and different timings and different rhythms. And you go, it's all coming from me. It's not until I sit back and listen to it and go, oh dear, this is scary.
Yeah, like different personalities.
They're all different personalities. You know, there's the old lady Irene, there's Ed. He's like this, you know, Ed's probably about 40, I suppose. You know, he lives with a bear. He's quite nothing like me. And then you've got the bear, you know, and he's always, oh, for fuck's sake, bear, thieves, we just stop swearing, you know. So it's like they're, I could just enter them, but I enjoy the process. So I use a program which is a famous program called Logic, and then it's a music making program. So then you have all the characters laid out on your screen, and then so you record as you go, and I can get other goes at it. I might listen to one where the inflection on that is completely wrong, and then record it again, and then I've got to lay the sounds like I say underneath, and then maybe there's a hammering at that point, and it's really. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic, and the other thing is I can go to any world. You know, so far they've been camping, they've been trucking, they've been on a heist. You know, there's one bedridden where Ed's in bed, he's broke his rib, and he's connected to. He wakes up and he sees the bear is high up on a lifeguard chair, and he's like, "What are you doing up there?" And he explains to him that's how the feeding tube works. You know, and he goes, "Feeding tube." He goes, "Yeah, you're connected to my gallbladder," because there's a whole thing about bear bladder, isn't it? Bear bile in China, which is wickedly cruel, but he's connected to his gallbladder, so giving him bear bile to make him better. But what it does, it sends him on this constant hallucination. So it's a bit of a twisted and mad one, that one. But they're all bonkers like that. They're all you know. There's these crazy worlds. And the last one I just did, which is really good, is Bear Grylls. So Bear opens up a restaurant, roadkill restaurant, from your grill to ours, and he opens this restaurant up. But of course, Bear Grylls gets wind of it. And he turns up not happy that they're calling it Bear Grylls, but they point out it's spelled with an I, not a Y. But I started doing it as Bear Grylls. But Bear Grylls' voice is as lovely as Bear Grylls' voice is, it's boring for comedy. So I researched him, and he's from Bristol, right? So I made him really Bristolian, you see, much funnier, right? What are you doing, mate? That's my name, see? And you're not allowed to use my name, right? What, is this place going to shut up or not? Now listen, Dan, you know, so, right? So they end up having this challenge, this jungle challenge, and the winner takes all, you know. And then it's got Anthony Middleton in it, and he's Mr. Third Person, so he says his name all the time. He goes Tony Middleton, that's what I called him. I didn't call him Anthony. Oh yeah, it's called Tony Middlesex, but the real one's Anthony Middleton, isn't he? And I didn't want to give him direct, you know, but I read his book and stuff and thought, you need to be out here, mate. But I don't call him Anthony. I call him Tony Middlesex.
How do people find this podcast then?
If you put in "Bear With Me, Terry Alderton" on any of the podcast places like Apple or Spotify or anything like that, Amazon Music, you'll find it. Or any smart speaker near you, ask for "Bear With Me, Terry Alderton." So anyway, there you are. Yeah. So that keeps me sane as well. Like I always say to people, because you know I put my terryalderton@me.com is my email address, as I always say. And if you're feeling down, I'm not qualified, but I'm always there to type back. And people do get in touch, which is nice. And I always sort of say, you know, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, what I think is a good idea, if you're feeling down or you've got some sort of depression, it's not going to change it, but do something, I think, creative. Even if it's gardening, even if you haven't got a garden, just get a pot and start growing stuff. You know, just have something that you go to out of your norm. You know, maybe, I don't know what you do, something you don't like in life, work-wise, or whatever, I don't know. But to have something that is your moment. If it's a little garden, or come back and paint a little bit more. Even if you can't, if you think you can't paint, it doesn't matter. Just lose yourself in that. And that's what I like doing with the Bear With Me. It's a creative space, you know. I think that's important if you're feeling, if you've got black dog, go and create something.
And also, like some of these feelings people get and moods they get, they're like seasons. They come and go. So sometimes when you're in that depressed state and you're suicidal or you just had enough, sometimes you have to think it's not going to last forever. This will pass.
Well, there's a brilliant book, right? There's a brilliant book you can read. This is brilliant, by the way, everyone, right? But there's a great thing in this, which you said about naming that little nagging voice, giving it a name like a secretary and telling it to go and file it somewhere else. So I've got like an alter ego called Victor Rettis, right? And I used to do him he's online. You can find him on YouTube. I used to go to different football grounds. He was called Sheepskin, right? Because he wore a sheepskin and he had a tash and he was a little bit cliched. But he used to just go to lower league grounds and they used to just rip the piss out of the places. To the annoyance of a lot of fans, which is quite funny. The comments are hilarious. But, you know, he's like my Incredible Hulk. You know, he's the really nasty, dark side of me. So anytime something pops in my head, he goes, guess what? Scratchy, scratchy. You know, I go, Victor, can you file that for me? And it works. It's brilliant, especially at night, trying to sleep as well. It's a brilliant thing. Well done for that.
Yeah, well, that's what I use as a philosophy of practice is act therapy. So thoughts, you can't get rid of thoughts. If you try and repress thoughts, you get a rebound effect. You end up thinking of it even more. It's white bear phenomena. But if you can allow thoughts to pass by and let them flow through, it's a lot easier to live with than hooking onto them and fighting with them and blah blah blah.
No, and I think you say in there, you say, you know, they like, and you've just said they are going. You can't stop them. They're always going to bombard you. You know, for whatever reason or however you are, if you're that way inclined, and things you can go, oh, what's that brilliant thing as well? I read the other day. Oh, you know, someone, who was it? It wasn't Ernest Hemingway. Oh, who was it? Oh, I can't remember who it was, and you'll know. Saying about days are like little lives. You know, you have each day is you can't stare into the future because there's no point. You know, that's a waste of time, and there's no point looking back either. You like each day. He was a very successful doctor, but his whole thing was about days. You know, he would have one day. Once the day finished, that was a life that had ended, and we start the next life the next day. It was much, much, much better put than I've just done it. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Was it Jordan Peterson? Was it?
Yes.
Was it? Oh, I guess.
Yeah. Well done. Look at me, Ernest Hemingway. Yes, well done. Top of the class. It was. But that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. And but always in my world, you know, typical of me, this is I'll go, right, I'm going to do that tomorrow. But I bet so and so happens, right? And then I wake up, go to the door, get the letters and open them, and all these horrible bills and things, and like, you know, and I'm like, oh well, this is the first day of that life. What a great thing, you know. And it's like I've pulled that towards myself. Do you know what I mean? I've laying in bed going, well, I know it's going to be terrible. Well, guess what? It was terrible. So you need Victor to come in and go, Victor, can you get rid of all this for me?
Yeah,
I like that, Victor.
My inner voice is like David Brent.
Yeah, you said. Oh, it's in this book, folks.
Yeah.
You won't get one like this. One signed.
Yeah. Because David Brent makes me laugh.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's I get that. And Victor, for me, he's like my Incredible Hulk. He wants to come in. It's like he's coming in and going, Argh! And I'm going, Victor, just park this. Yeah, you're right. I like the fact that it's funny, yeah.
So what have you got coming up then? You've got the Bear With Me. Have you anything else?
Bear With Me. I'm doing a little few tour dates. here and there. They're on my website. I'm not doing this massive thing, but there's a few here and there I'm doing, and which is tough at the moment because so many people have backed up their tours. There's so much out there, and maybe too much. But anyway, they're there. And what else was I doing? Oh, I'm writing. Yeah, I'm writing a pilot at the moment as well. I can't tell you who or why. It's nothing massive. I'm just writing a pilot, which is I can tell you what it's called. It's called Love, Marriages, and Power Stations. And it's a comedy drama. So it's actually really straight. So for me to write something actually really straight for like, 8 o'clock Sunday night sort of family viewing is quite testing for me because I like going off on a wonk. So I have to stop myself and go, no, that's too wonky. But yeah, it's about this mixed race couple living in London, and they've been together since they were 15 and they're now our age. And they've decided, that's it. We're getting out. So it is about a mixed race couple, but it's not about a mixed race couple, but it is also entering into that world of, you'll see. But I'm doing it with this brilliant comedian. I'm writing it, but she's involved. Nini and Benjamin, who's fantastic. So hopefully it'll be me and her playing the parts.
Well, I recommend seeing you live because I saw you live in Nottingham. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Come and see me live. Well, that's the thing, you watch it on YouTube. I've got that thing I always say in my audiences, those that know, right? Those that don't know. And some people bring people along who don't know, knowing what they know, just to watch the people who don't know going, what's going on here? And I think if you watch any of my stuff on YouTube, you'll either grasp it or you won't grasp it. But I think you're absolutely right. I'll be the first one to say you need to see me live, really. Because you might go on YouTube, but you need to see it live because it's crackles, doesn't it? I don't even know what's happening. So, you come on the ride with me.
That's the thing about it, isn't it? It's kind of like unscripted.
Well, there's stuff I know. There is stuff I know, and there's stuff I obviously know the gags and shit and got routines, but it's how I get to them and the way I put them out might be different. I might do them differently. So I might not do it the same, I don't know. Maybe I'm talking about monkey fighting or something, but the monkey fight might be slightly different the next time,
Oh, monkey fighting?
Yeah, well, I used to actually. I was just thinking about
monkey farting.
No, monkey farting.
That's a whole. Monkey farting.
That's a child's act. No, for the adults, it's monkey fight. It's monkey fight. I just thought of another routine I haven't done for ages. It's about a bloke getting out of his lorry with a bat. Once got out with a bat, and he's giving it. I think, what view of the world must you have if you've got to drive around with a bat in your car, right? And of course, the whole thing is that I get out a monkey with a sharp knife. I wanted to have a sharp whip, but I can't write that good a comedy, so he's got to have a sharp knife. And then, of course, he fights the bat, and the bat isn't a bat; it's a fruit bat. That's where my comedy goes.
What about the hamster one with the head? The guy in the crowd with the
yeah, 2 hamsters. Yeah, look like newborn baby hamsters. Mother might eat one of us. Yeah. Oh, blimey, I thought about that at school when you get baldies. Yeah. God, I'm going to do that next time I go out.
And then by the end, I must kiss him.
Oh yeah, yeah. The kissing. There's always a kiss in it. But because of COVID and stuff, I don't really do that routine anymore. I've done it for ages, that routine. I love it, and I still do it. Not all the time, but like I said, because of when COVID came along and what have you. Sorry, I just had an OCD moment there. When COVID came along, of course, we weren't doing anything. And then we were allowed back out. I thought, I can't do the kissing because it involves me getting someone on stage and dancing and kissing them. So I didn't want to be seen. I couldn't give a monkeys, but I don't want to be seen to be breaking the rules. So, kiss him. You must kiss him. That's on Dave's One Night Stand if you want to watch that. Just put Dave's One Night Stand, Terry Alderton. It's in there with and it's always good with a bigger bald man, which is on that.
Yeah. Well, I definitely recommend seeing you live.
Thank you.
It's very funny on YouTube, but it's even more funny when you're live.
Yeah, you got to come see me live. Yeah, I agree.
It always takes someone who never laughs, and then if you get them laughing, then you're doing well, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I've had that. I'm sure every single comic's had that. People come that going, I don't laugh at comedians, but you made me really laugh tonight. But I'm sure every comic gets someone to say that to them. I remember one guy coming up to me after a gig, And he said, I saw you at a comedy store about 3 years ago. And I went, okay. And he said, and I watched you, and I was so annoyed with the fact I didn't understand what the shit you were going on about. But he said everyone I was with was laughing, and everyone in the room was laughing, and I was like, "What is this crap?" So I went to the bar. I went, "All right, this is someone who's been to one of my shows, right? My tour shows." So I thought I better stick with this. And then he went, and then he said, "I couldn't believe it. I went to another comedy night. Bearing in mind I don't do many gigs, right?" I went to another comedy night, and he said, "I couldn't believe it." He said, "You walked on stage," and I went, "Oh," and he went, "I was just like, fucking hell, I can't watch this shit." He said, I tried for about 3 or 4 minutes and I just went, no. I went to the bar. He said, I went out. I just thought this guy's terrible. And then he said, and it's like a rule of 3 this, right? He said, I went to another comedy. I said, please don't. So he went, then you came out. He said, I couldn't fucking believe it. And I was like, you've got to be joking. And he said, he said, somehow, he said, like learning a new language or something. He said, something went click. He said, something went click. And he said, by the end of it, I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so much. And he said, no, I'm your biggest fan. He said, I've come to about 6 of your tour shows. And I went, you're joking. So it must have been more than 3 years. Yeah. And I went, that's just the maddest story. So it's amazing how, what I'm saying is, you know, some people just go, I don't get this. And as I always famously say, there's nothing to get. There's nothing to, you just got to come on the ride. You got to forget what you know about. So this fellow walks into a set up to a gag and a punchline. It's not there, this. It's not what I do.
The thing about you is you've got a very unique style. It's very like
it's different.
It's you. It's coming from you.
It's coming from me, and it's an honesty coming, and that's the other thing is, you know, I am I'm very honest, you know, on stage. Sometimes it hits walls, you know. That's why I hate it when people go, you know, that thing at the moment. People go, well, you can't say that anymore. You know, you heard people say that way. You can't say that anymore. Well, do you know what? You can say what you want, man. You can say what you like. You know, it's brilliant. We live in this wonderful country. Say what you like. You know, you might get shot down, and you might have not maybe looked at what you can't say anymore. You might not have actually looked into depth at maybe why you shouldn't be saying it. But you can say what you want, and that's what I do. I say what I want up there. I've researched it. You know, I've got feelings about it, so I'll talk about it. You know, and some people may sit there and go, oh, I don't believe in this. You know, this is terrible. But that's your point of view. And that's what's brilliant about living in Britain, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can say what we want to say. I remember listening to a bloke on the radio. This is what really did it for me. This is quite a while back now. But it was just kind of the start of that when this bloke was on I think it might have been Talk Sport, driving home late at night or LBC or something like that. And he come on and he said the problem, whoever the host was, he said, the problem, you know, today, he said, if you're middle-aged and white, you haven't got a voice anymore. And I was sitting there going, but you're on the radio, mate. And he goes, and that's the problem. He said, being middle-aged and white and working class is what he said. He goes, you haven't got a voice. And then I remember him, he must have said it 2 or 3 times. And I'm in the car going, you're on the radio, mate. You're on the radio. Say it. Say what you've got to say, man. Well, you're on there saying you can't. That was his argument. You can't say what you want to say anymore. Well, you can now. You can say what the hell you want to say. It's dangerous if you can't say what you want to say, you know. And that's a good thing about comedians. I think we do well. I don't know too much about the younger comedians. They just talk about things they saw on the bus, a lot of them. And then the bloke said the funniest thing I'd ever heard. And I'm thinking, why don't you write some material? That's probably the best thing you should have said to you. You know, instead of going, here's a story about a story that I saw.
Yeah.
Isn't Lidl's cheap? Yes, I know. I've seen 400 comedians tell me.
I think that's the thing we do. I think it's very unique. It's very psychological, your act. I like it. It's funny.
Well, you know what it is. You know, like comics do observational comedy, don't they? And people go, oh, I love it when Michael McIntyre or let's think of someone who's brilliant at it. Sean Locke, bless him. You know, people like that who could do brilliant observational comedy. You know, and then draw a brilliant simile or a gag to it. Sean was the best at that. Brilliant genius. You know, I think I do the same thing, but I do it about your mind. that's what I think I do, because I feel that people sometimes go, I don't know why I understand what he's talking about, but there's something about it I'm understanding, and it's probably that. I did a show in 2019, I think it was, in Edinburgh, and it was called Terry Alderton the Musical, but it was actually me acting out like bipolar disorder and depression. But you don't find that out until the very end. It was all about time travel and all this kind of crazy world. And then there were moments of me shouting and then downs and that, but it was actually the ups and downs of being depressed and mental health and what have you. And it was beautiful, because at the end of the show, and I can say this because I wrote it with a couple of other people. Richard Melvin did a lot with me on it, and the music and whatever. I had a brilliant musician called Owen Parker, did all the music. So it's a big musical number at the end and all that. And there was loads of little twists and turns and catching the audience out. But the whole message at the end was, what you've just witnessed is this is physical acting out of what it's like to be depressed. So a lot of people came who had mental illness, and I know people who came several nights to watch it, because I think they felt it quite what's the word? Not cathartic. What word am I trying to think of? You know, it makes you feel nice. Thank you. Oh, cathartic. What am I going on about? Yes, therapeutic.
Cathartic's a Freudian term.
Yeah, I'm mad. It's nearly as bad as when I was on. I did Pointers with Tim Vine, and we were on there, and they said name one of the 6 elements. I had to say oxygen, and we would have been through. And for some reason, I said quinine. What? From nowhere. And I just remember Vine just going like this.
Tim Vine's a funny guy.
Yeah, Tim's very funny. Anyway, my point being was that I'm that boring. I can't even remember what I was talking about. But you can wind it back and then shout at me.
Mental health.
I can't remember what sort of.
Depression, bipolar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Therapeutic. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. And I'd love to do that show again. Thank you. Well done, Stephen. I'd love to do that show again, but it is a bit of work to do that show, and people have got to turn up, because it's a lot of work goes into it. I have to have 2 or 3 people do it with me. No man is an island, really is with that show. But I think what I should just do is, if anything really happens, like if the Bear With Me really kicks off, it's doing well actually, but if I can get to that point again where I lift up my profile, I will do that show, because it's a beautiful show to do. And I think it's a really important show to do, in fact, actually.
Well, I'll put a link on the video.
Yeah, I'll have to do it. We'll have to do it. It was called Terry Alderton Musical, but we really should have called it. The main song's a bipolar guy, right? It's a big number at the end and the beginning. You know, before we start the show, there's something you should know. You know, that kind of thing. Dun-dun-dun-dun. All canes going off, hundreds of canes going ting 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 ting, and they're just like 100. I just keep picking them up and opening these canes up. You know, the magic canes. By the end of it, there are thousands of canes all over the stage. Because that's another thing of, but it was called I'm Bipolar Guy. You know, that was the big and I think, but if we called it Bipolar Guy, it would have given the story away from the start. You know, you would have walked out and thought, oh, this is a show about mental health. What it worked out beautifully is we sung a song in the opening about musical. Didn't really reference it, but it's already set a thing in some people's head, right? Bipolar Guy. He's singing this. Is this just a comedy song about I'm Bipolar Guy? But what it was, it sows that seed for the 50 minutes or the hour. Right. And then you come on the ride, the waves with it, and then at the end, you get to the very end. That's when it's all beautiful at the end. I don't want to tell you now because you don't want to give it away. But it was wicked to do it. The feeling I used to get, because do you know what it's like? You know when the ring rolls in Sixth Sense and he goes, "I see dead people," and you go, "Oh shit, man, he's dead." You know, it's got one of those. It's got one of those. And when that happened, though, when I watched that film, that happened, I thought maybe I'm dead.
Jesus, yeah.
I thought, Jesus, maybe I'm dead. Yeah, but that's the kind of feeling it has. It's that there's a nice little pin drop thing, a little moment that people go, therapeutic, not cathartic.
Oh, therapeutic, yeah. Well, this has been therapeutic. So what I'll do is I'll put some links. I'll put Bear With Me link on this video, and then people can download it, right, for the podcast. I'd
love that. Yeah, it's doing really well. I will say one thing. The first one is the pilot version. You need to stay with that, and then stick with it, you know, because even if you might, the first one going, yeah, it's all right. But the first one is also obviously explaining and stuff. And it's always the way we pilot things. And then as you go on, you get into the characters, as I have. And it gets better and better because I get better with the equipment as well. So please at least listen to the 5 that are up. And then maybe go, this isn't for me. But as my wife told me, it's more of a boys thing anyway. It's more of a boys thing. And I'm thinking, oh, right, okay. I didn't think it was more of a boys thing, but then if it is, I apologise, girls.
Well, I'll put that on there, and then it's been good chatting to you and finding out
Great
what you do.
To you, Stevie.
And
the golden ticket, everyone. It's called the golden ticket. He doesn't know I'm doing this. I'm just doing this because it blew my mind. So, and to quickly tell you the story before he wraps up, he kept getting to me. I'm pointing to him because he's on the screen there. He's on my LinkedIn. He's on my LinkedIn going, you read my book? It's really funny. And I'm thinking, who is this guy? And he's sending me jokes. And I thought, oh, I quite like his face. And all right, I went, I'll read your book. Well, I downloaded it on Audible and I drove to a gig. It's not very long, which is brilliant. That's the best thing about it. I drove to a gig. I'll tell you what it took me. It took me to listen to it from Chelmsford in Essex, to Cheltenham, which is on the other side of M25, and halfway back again. That's how long this book is, right? Brilliant. He doesn't know I'm doing that for him. It's brilliant. It's funny as well. Sends me terrible jokes, but his book's funny.
Very kind, very kind. Right, yeah. Cheers, Terry.
Thank you, Stevie.
I'll speak to you. I'll speak to you again.
Yeah,
I'll come and see you. I'll come and see you. I'll come and see you live again.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, man.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.